Hey everybody, welcome to Beyond Trek Podcast. We have a very special episode today, if you can't tell by the video grid. Noah AK is in the house. Thank you for being here, Noah.
Thank you for having me, guys. I'm excited to be here. Forgive the mess over here. I didn't even try to clean it up. Usually my screen's like this big, so you can only see the good stuff. But you know what? It's unfiltered here, baby. Anything goes.
It's your house, you know?
I hide the mess behind the green screen.
Yeah, you feel you're smart to set up a green screen. I just
you don't want to see what's behind here. Yeah.
I like what's behind there right now, man. I'm looking good. I'm looking very concerned.
Good. Yeah, I was trying to find a
very
strong
good chin, very good jawline.
Yeah. I know. I need to get the surgery so I actually look like that mask. I think. Make it permanent.
Oh, that would be badass.
Pull a full Robert Downey Jr. from Tropic Thunder.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh yes.
And you know my esteemed co-hosts Renzo and Big J. Today we're here to talk about one big thing, but first I have a big question for Noah. Noah, the audience wants to know. I don't know how long ago this happened, but you were playing a game on Twitch, and then Mary told you that you had to kill a bug. How big was that bug?
So we live sort of near we're in Brooklyn, but we're in a very humid part of Brooklyn, a damp part of Brooklyn, and we live above like a sort of not completely derelict basement, but like a basement where somebody's been like putting the leftover stuff from every project they've been doing since like 1965, and there's like a thick layer of dust. And what happens is in the humid times, the bugs, particularly the house centipedes that sort of spawn and live below, catching all the bugs and spiders and everything, they sort of are attracted by our cool air-conditioned room. So they crawl up the side of the walls, and then I think they make their way through the space. Parts of our walls aren't properly caulked because our floor sort of wobbles. You can see we're living the high life out here in New York. So they just crawl up through the wall there. So we have some truly massive house centipedes. I was thinking today, I don't think that was the biggest one I've seen. That one was probably, it was like the size of a small pickle, like all the way around. Probably like that big.
Oh man!
But I've seen ones that are like a cookie, you know, like a full-on cookie. And
I'm not a fan of centipedes. I get it.
Tasted like it.
Wow.
It tasted like it.
We get
the
them.
Good news is that they kill other bugs, you know, so that's good, but they still are freaky as hell, and they're fast too. That's the worst part. Why do they have to be so fast?
Too many legs. Too many legs.
I have an agreement with them. If I can't see you, you get to live.
Yes, I think so. And if you show your face,
it's over.
I'm murking you. That's it.
Stay hidden. You're fine.
Our walls are all white. And I think the way their eyes look, they can only see in front of them. So the good news is if you sort of come directly at them on the wall, they're not going to scurry away. They're not as smart as cockroaches and stuff like that.
I dread turning on the lights in my kitchen in a hot evening. Just be like, click, scare. No, we just don't go into the kitchen after dark. It's fine.
And I'm of the type that I don't kill spiders, things like that, unless I have to. And you know, my daughter, little one, and my youngest son, they don't like bugs just like anything else. And they see them say, Daddy, kill it. I said, well, I'm not going to kill it because they are getting rid of the other ones. You know, instead of you not having a spider, you may have a fly flying around and bothering you. The way I look at it is the spider is not bothering you. It's doing its thing, taking care of whatever. So we have no beef with the spiders and some of those bugs. So, you know, I let them live. Now I'll check, see what kind it is. You know, if it's some like brown recluse or black widow, yeah, you're done. You're gonna get smoked. But you know, it's
what are the odds though, really?
Yeah. Well, but Dag, it's kind of it's the frog on the alligator. You know, no. I'm sorry. It was the.
If I kill all the spiders, the bugs come back. So.
Was it the scorpion on
the scorpion's the metaphor.
You know, Big J, you're way more Starfleet material to me because I'm here to kill, man. I don't care what it is.
All right.
Doing murder. Not even thinking twice.
Noah and I are Starship Troopers over here.
I go
Kill the
kill them
bugs.
as well, but for a different reason.
Yes,
I don't care
exactly.
about them. I don't care about them. They don't bug me. But the puppy hates them. The puppy sees a bug and he fixates and barks at them at the wall. And just to get him to shut up, smush goes the bug. Because otherwise the dog's just going to fixate and follow it around barking at it.
Makes sense to me. Well, let's get to the meat of why we're all really here today. Noah, about 6 weeks ago, I pinged you on Twitter because you had you'd been talking about losing your nerd card, I guess. You thought you were going to get kicked out of the Q Continuum because you hadn't seen any of the animated series. And so I was like,
truly a terrible confession that I felt compelled to make on the internet. I don't know why, but I just felt like it was time to come clean. It would been weighing heavy on my conscience.
as it has all of us. As soon as I
Yes,
brought
I'm
it to
sure
Big J and
everyone was-
Renzo, we were like, we
You
have
guys
to
were
do this.
pissed. Yeah, you guys were
We can
really
help.
pissed off.
We can help.
You guys didn't see the beginning of the Zoom meeting, but they were just screaming at me for like 10 minutes.
Oh,
Just
really?
yelling. Yeah.
Wow.
It was intense.
Legit. Very true.
Extended edition. What? So yeah, I invited you to watch a couple of episodes and give us some feedback on what you thought. Now, some real thought went into these episodes because we took into account some things that you have done according to Wikipedia, and we felt that 2 episodes, because we were like, what's going to be like the worst and the best, 2 episodes that also heavily featured Spock, the character that you once auditioned for. And so those 2 episodes were The Infinite Vulcan, written by Walter Koenig, and Yesteryear, written by D.C. Fontana. So you watched those today.
I watched them today. I thought especially Yesteryear, we've got major Andorian presence. We've got DC Fontana, the queen originator of the Andorians. So I was in Andorian heaven on that one. I don't know what was wrong with their coloring, the gray coloring. It was very strange. You have a fact for
There's an exploration for this one, yeah.
Hell yeah! I knew one of you guys would have a
So
fact.
the guy who was doing the inking on the original cells was colorblind. He didn't realize that he wasn't inking them in blue.
No.
So he ended up
Wow.
gray as a result. That is the actual explanation for it.
That is a wild job to have, to be a color grader and be colorblind. That feels like a Mr. Magoo thing.
Yeah,
Yep.
you'd think that would be a question that would come up during the interview or something.
So the explanation for this in canon has been, at very least, that Thalen was at least partially Anar. So, like the Anar from Enterprise, he can be pale.
Oh my god, that's like
Right.
that retcon is like such heavy lifting. It's making me feel sick. Give me a break here. Oh my god.
That's what we do. We retcon to. There are times I've seen retcons that are like the gymnastics that had to happen for this retcon is insane.
I mean, let's talk about some Discovery retcons too, right?
Yeah, we're talking Mary Lou
The
Retton.
mystery
insane.
sister.
Let's not talk about it. How about that? I love how everybody gets so obsessed with retcons, and the truth is, he was colorblind. That's the retcon.
Yeah.
That's what I love the most. Is
Yeah.
like,
There you go.
oh god, we gotta fucking retcon. Oh my god. Oh my
We
god. And
we
then
need to make it
reality
make
is like,
sense.
Yeah, I just grabbed
Cannon!
a colored pencil. It's
Give me my
amazing.
cannon.
I love it. I love it.
Do you have a cannon? Cannon. Arm the cannon. Cannon. Fire the cannon torpedoes. So Yesteryear, that was one of my personal favorites. And Renzo, I know you had segments on that, and I wanna hold that discussion to the other half to talk about the one that I thought was really funny, the Infinite Vulcan, where the Enterprise crew goes and visits a land of sentient plants, and then makes a 50-foot Spock, whose body we get to see dead in Lower Deck Season 2.
Cannon, baby.
It's
Retcon,
amazing.
Hell yeah.
You gotta love that continuity, right?
Only Mike McMahon could make it happen. Amazing.
Yeah, he could. What did you think of that episode?
I loved it. I mean, I love both of these. I think they're so much fun. I love that they just get straight to the point. It's like there's literally no preamble. It's like, we're here. Here's the mystery. And there's absolutely no B plot whatsoever.
They didn't have time for that.
No,
Yeah.
they had no time for it. It's
24-minute episodes or whatever.
Yeah, I was about to say 24.
I love how it just was like seemingly like random twists and turns where it's like we have a plant people and then the plant people lead you to other plant people that got sick, but it's a trap. But then there was a guy here who cloned himself and he really just wants to make a bunch of other clones to stop the wars. It's just like truly the most amount of twists and turns you could pack into 24 minutes. It's like Walter Koenig was doing like one of those like poem things you do on a fridge where you just take random words and then put them together. It's like plant people 50 feet. So it was great. I loved it though. I loved it.
Yeah, no, Walter didn't have an easy time writing the script either. Apparently Gene Roddenberry made him like go back and fix things like 10 plus times on it too. So like this was definitely a collaborative thing between the two.
That's
Well,
so
that
funny.
makes sense now.
That is so funny. It's so funny because I can really imagine him like slaving over it. You know, I got to meet him at Star Trek Las Vegas very briefly. He's so nice, like just like kind, sweet guy. And I can imagine him just being like, oh my God, Gene is yelling at me over my rotary telephone. I have to go back to the drawing board again.
Yeah, but as a result, he was the first Star Trek actor that got a chance to write an episode too. So that's pretty
I've
big.
been thinking about that. There's such a obvious history of Star Trek actors directing, but there's such a dearth of Star Trek actors writing episodes. I find that very interesting. Feels like somebody should get in there. I don't know.
I mean, I'm sure you know a couple, right? You can make some suggestions, I think.
Yeah, I should start talking to people about it. I mean, it's challenging nowadays because the stories, especially for Discovery
Arcs,
and Picard,
yeah.
the arcs are so specific that it we'll see what Strange New Worlds turns out if they sort of stick to what they're saying with the episodic stuff. But yeah, nobody believes that.
Totally.
I am an optimist. I am hopeful.
But either way, it's just challenging, even more challenging. But yeah, it's interesting. I'm very surprised that we don't have more cast written episodes, especially from the before days when basically you could send a script into a mailbox somewhere in Glendale, and they're like, yeah, sure, we'll do it. Whatever. We got 24 of these things.
It's true, yeah.
They were doing that for Next Generation. They're just taking in scripts. Well, when you're doing shows with seasons that long and you're episodic, there might be some serialized undertones, or there may be that one thing that had you seen a past episode. But when you're doing a show like that, I think it was 26 episode seasons for TNG back in the day.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so you've got that, and for DS9, for Voyager, it's like, people, please send us some scripts. We're running out of ideas fast. There's too many episodes here. We're dying.
We need some filler.
I got to watch Code of Honor with a friend. He watched it for the first time, and it was one of those, like, I had to explain to him.
Ouch.
So, some precursor information here. This was written for the original series. This was written for Kirk and Spock.
Yeah.
That's why it feels the way it feels. And he actually enjoyed the episode, so he's a strange one.
Wait a minute. Tell me you didn't start him on Star Trek with that. Okay.
No. We've gone through the original series movies, and he's quite enjoyed those. So we're starting TNG now and getting through some of that. He's watched an episode or two of TAS and TOS. But yeah, so he enjoyed Code of Honor of all things. So
Holy moly!
It'd be great if you could get approval from Wizards of the Coast and be like, all right, so 32nd Century Season 4 of Discovery, we open around a table, Dungeons and Dragons 88th edition, or Phasers and Phylosians if you can't get the copyright.
There's really no reason why it couldn't happen. I mean, they've probably got, double holodecks now, double-decker holodecks.
TNG
you
had
gotta have
poker.
hobbies, right?
TNG had poker. Discovery can have D&D.
I think so. So. We certainly have it off screen if we don't have it on screen at least.
I love that so much.
I was just thinking, that seems like that one thing that Discovery is missing that would be really cool, and it would be to have a game or thing they do. Like Max said about TNG and the poker games. They could have something.
Yeah,
some
they tried
like
to make...
little
they
LAN
tried
party?
to make like the LAN party. Tried to make the family dinners happen, but they always
I like
ended.
those.
They
What happened
end
with
in
that?
Misery. People get angry at each other. Nobody's getting
Giorgio
along.
decides to pitch a fit and everything gets thrown to shit, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
everyone is unhappy when they eat dinner with space Hitlers. I don't know why though.
Or Detmer does the weird haiku.
Oh God, yeah.
Everyone's just freaking traumatized. Their whole all their family's been dead for 1,000 years. Nobody's having a good time at dinner.
Yeah, that's
going
really
back-
rough.
So going back to Infinite Vulcan, right? The whole concept of TAS, as I'm sure you read by now, was just that it was supposed to give like a kid show that was going to take some scripts that might have been used for TOS and just like use them there. And it was supposed to keep Star Trek alive until Phase 2 could launch, right? Did you think that there was anything neat about kind of the approach that you saw in Infinite Vulcan for doing so or anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, I thought it's just a really fun, like I was saying, it's like fun and snappy and to the point. It's fun to like watch this old animation style, you know, some of it rules and looks so good. Like that, especially the opening, like the opening credits look amazing and the opening song absolutely rules. It's like so good, even though it's so short. It's just clearly like one of the best songs with that old school style. It makes you really want sort of what Star Wars has, was like a Trek anime. You know, I think that would be so sick. I think that'd be amazing. Watching that opening credits, I was like, oh, this should absolutely happen.
And some of the animations remind you of like those Hanna-Barbera
Totally.
shows that you'd watch too, right? Like those purple dragons with the tentacles.
Yeah.
Well, that was the era.
So yeah,
Yeah,
that
absolutely,
was
back in the 70s.
Filmation, who went on to do all the He-Man cartoons in the 80s.
Yep.
No, that's amazing. Yeah, it's totally that style. Yeah, I don't know. It's just fun, and it's fun to hear all the cast doing like voice acting too, and they're all really good at it. You know, like their voice acting is super strong, which is cool.
Fun one for you. So throughout TAS, which I'm sure you'll watch more of, you'll see that Jimmy Doohan and like ends up doing 80 different voices for different characters throughout it. He keeps
that's
getting
amazing.
reused. Majel Barrett does a ton of things. Anytime they needed a
noticed
female
that.
character, it
And
was
Nichelle
her.
too.
So yeah, Nichelle Nichols does as well.
I noticed that. I think Nichelle did too. I can't remember if it was. It must have been in this one because I don't think she was in Yesteryear. She did two. I can't remember which two she did. And
Phylogents.
Barrett did Amanda and I think like Nurse Chapel or one of the other people as well.
Yep.
Which was
Yep.
great. I love it because of course
I
you
love the
immediately
reuse.
are like, oh yeah, amazing.
So,
It's a challenge.
so a story you'll like to hear about the animated series. When this was being done and they were bringing back the old actors, at the time it was only going to be William Shatner, Leonard Nimoy, DeForest Kelley, and James Doohan. Majel Barrett, yeah, probably, because of course you're the wife of the creator, you're going to be in everything. So what Leonard Nimoy did in regards to the casting is that unless George Takei and Walter Koenig had their roles reprised as well, and I believe also Nichelle Nichols, he was going to walk.
He had to get
He wasn't going
2 out of
to
3
do
of
it.
those.
right,
he got
and got 2 out of
3.
3.
Yeah.
But if it was going to be something, and I don't know why they didn't. I think it was a budget
It was
thing.
a budget
I think
issue.
Yeah, budget issue. But he did that. He stuck up for him. Said, "I'm walking if you don't do this." You've really got to appreciate that from a colleague and coworker saying, "This show doesn't happen if you don't respect and include this person, that person, etc." So yeah, a little background about the animated series.
Love that. What a dude. It's always budget stuff too. That's how all
Yep.
this anything weird or bad that happens, it's always budget.
It's budget.
Yep.
That's awesome. What a great story.
Would that be the reason why your character Ren in Discovery had losing antennas? Was it costing too much for the makeup budgets? They said, if we just take the antennas, we can shave a little. How much did that save per episode? I'm thinking $100.
Well, think about it though. If I'm around for that long, they got to make a move at some point, and they're either going to be mechanical, which they're never going to do, or they're going to CGI them, which is going to cost a huge amount of money. So actually, it was budget.
So you suffered a budget slash, literally.
Everyone has. Every Star Trek actor has suffered, and no matter how big or small, has absolutely suffered a budget slash before, without a doubt.
But yours are very visible budget slash, just right across the top, Mr. Mod.
Just a little off the top.
Yeah.
Hey, they grow back, right? They grow back according to Shran.
Right?
Well, everybody says that, but like Archer did a clean, nice
Right, cauterized versus
Come
like
on.
yeah.
Osira is meanwhile torturing me on a slave planet. I don't think she's gonna let them grow that. Also, how disappointing it would have been if there's like a whole, montage of me growing my antenna back. I'm like, yeah, I'm back, and then they blow my brains out 10 minutes later. It's like, come on, why do we do that?
I think that sounds delightfully hilarious.
It'd be fun for us, but everybody else might not.
Let them grow back, cut them again. Let them grow back, cut them again.
Like trimming the hedges, just can't make sure that, there's like some elder Andorian walking around. He's got like 8-foot long antenna because they just never stop growing.
That's funny. That's funny. I'll be curious to see if they wind up making the move on Strange New Worlds. I mean, they kind of backed themselves into a corner, so I'll be curious to see what they decide to do with those.
How cool would it be to bring in Felon into Strange New Worlds?
There you go. Now we're talking. Now we're really thinking. Let's see if they retcon him as an Anar or not.
So I've got some story for you there then. Let's talk about Yesteryear then. So Yesteryear, written by DC Fontana, it's generally regarded as the best episode of TAS, right? Tell me what you thought.
Before we go on,
yeah,
I just want to say the guy's plan to send a super militia through space was just to make Spock big. That's
he wanted to make a million Spocks. And
you want to make
swoopers.
a million?
Yeah.
But like the only thing he was going to do is just make them really tall. He wasn't going to give them superpower or mind thing or anything. It was just to make them tall. And as a tall person, I think it was the right call. All right, that's enough about that. Let's talk about Yesteryear.
So, Yesteryear. Generally regarded as one of the best episodes. Clearly, it's going to touch on a couple subjects that you like. You liked Andorian representation. It's going to talk about Spock's upbringing, which we see in the 2009 movie, and we learn more about from Ethan Peck's Spock in Discovery, right? Like, what did you think of this episode overall?
I love this episode. I like that it's like really getting into just like the meat of, again, it's just like gets right into it right away, which I kind of love. I love the mix between between like how serious it is of like, this young boy trying to like accomplish his unyielding father's demands, sort of caught between two worlds, and then juxtapose that with like the voice of the Guardian, which was just like somebody they pulled off the street and like shook him as he was like, go through.
It was ridiculous.
Portal.
Yeah,
it's so funny. I love it. It's so great. I wish that should always be the voice of the Guardian. It's so great.
There's Jimmy Doohan again.
Is that him?
Yeah.
Oh, that's
he was
amazing.
the healer as well.
No way. I didn't know all that. That's amazing.
Yeah.
He was great. I love it, man.
You could have gone with a different choice for the voicing the Guardian. I feel like
you can't copy Burt LaRue all those many times.
Okay.
Burt LaRue's the original voice from City on the Edge of Forever.
It's
right
perfect.
on.
I thought it was perfect. I wouldn't have it any other way.
I love the time travel episodes. I loved seeing like Spock get bullied by kids that we saw again in Star Trek 2009. Like that was a cool, like they pulled that into the movie. They definitely added a lot of depth there, and DC Fontana was in charge of like how Vulcan society was presented. What's really funny is that in one of her notes, she was like, Spock has absolutely no siblings, end of story. And I was like, whoa, well. But they answer that, he answers that in Star Trek 5. He's like, technically, I do not. I have a half-brother. So, you mean Michael technically is just an adopted sister. It's not a sister.
Well, but that's the same as the Avengers, Thor making that comment about Loki that, well, he was adopted.
He's adopted.
It's your brother's your brother. I think the whole half-brother thing, that was still an omission of info. But in regards to Michael being just this random adopted out of nowhere, suddenly Spock has a sister. At least the way that they explain that at the end of season 2 of Discovery, I thought was well played.
That's a good wrap up.
I'd still stick with the argument that we got more to make Michael's story make sense than we did to get Cybok's story to make sense. Granted, Cybok was a one-off in one movie, but Cybok.
If you don't think Cybok is coming back, you are sadly mistaken.
I need young Cybok and his group of zealots in Strange New Worlds. I have the Vulcan robe from Star Trek 4 with the long hair and the pointed ears. I have my young Cybok costume. I'm ready for this. Let's go.
I'm ready. I'll call my agent to put in a call for young Cybok.
There's this GIF I made, and it was from I can't remember the episode name in Discovery, but Sarek was in it, and there was some line he had. I think he was asked a question. He said, "I did not, but I know that now." Something like that. And so the way I titled it was, "When you raise 3 children and none of them graduate from the Vulcan Science Academy." It was like, how do you...
Yeah.
Did you realize that?
That's why he's so pissed all the time, man. He just couldn't get it right.
Yeah, having all these kids.
None of his kids seem to be able to stand him, basically, right? Like, we saw the tension between Spock and Sarek in TOS. We saw it between Michael and Sarek throughout Discovery Season 1 and 2. And Cybok and him haven't spoken in decades.
And we see it in this episode. They're not really getting along. I think he's just straight up a bad dad. Like, let's just call it. Worst dad in Trek. Worse than Worf. I'm calling it.
Oh, that's bold. That's a bold.
That is bold.
I'm just here to stir it up.
The real parent figure for Spock here is Ichea. Ichea was the real hero of his childhood.
Hell yes. I love that, whatever that thing is with its broken tooth. Great. Just an amazing addition to the Star Trek universe.
Now, you say that Worf was the bad dad.
Oh, wait, go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was just going to be like, you say that Worf is the worst father, and while that might be true, I'm going to add on to that and be like, at least Sarek knows his wife's name. We never hear Worf's mom's name. We don't know who Worf's mom is. Like, I need Star Trek 3, the second, the search for Worf's mom. I need to know what that is.
I don't know, man.
Maybe in Klingon society, it's not important. It's not a big deal because you're the son of the father, and perhaps that's just how Klingon culture works. Is your lineage?
Man. They made a Dachtag that had his mom and Lursa, Bator, and their kid on it. I'm pretty sure that they could totally do that.
That's my attempt to explain,
retcon. Sounds like
to
a
retcon something. I
tried to kind of... Retcon alert. Retcon alert.
Hi, Dr. Phil Phlox, also known as John Billingsley, speaking. I am the president of the board of the Hollywood Food Coalition. We serve terrific multi-course meals to the unhoused and to those in need 7 nights a week. We assist as many as 100 nonprofits with their food needs, buttressing extraordinary social service programs. We work with community partners to address issues of food insecurity here in SoCal. We do lots of other great stuff, but how much time do we have? If you're in LA, come and volunteer with us at hofoco.org/volunteer, and any Federation credits you can spare go a long way.
You know what I need?
We live for beta canon stuff. We love that stuff.
We go off on speculation a lot, but what I need now is I need to call back to the Thor thing, and I need Tilly and Michael to do get help in a Turbolift. Just Turbolift opens and Tilly just throws Michael, and Michael does her thing, and everyone's dead. It'll be perfect.
Please don't get me talking about the turbolifts and Discovery.
No, let's not talk about it.
Please,
my
honestly,
beef.
for my sake, Big J, I don't really want to hear it, so don't get involved. I was dead by that point anyway, so it's not my problem.
Not your dog, not your race.
Exactly.
We had to choose between Noah and the cat stayed.
Well, listen, I'll tell you guys what. No, you know,
the cat's less budget.
You know, that's definitely not true. I was way less expensive than that cat.
With the vet
what's
checks
funny is I always knew that I was going to die, even though I didn't check. I made a concerted effort not to check in with production about what his fate was going to be, because I knew he was going to die, and I didn't want to find out early because it would affect my performance, because I'd be so bummed. But the number one reason I knew he was going to die is because you guys probably know this, but when you go on to set, there's what's called a call sheet. And essentially it lists all the actors with a number next to their names. So like number 1 is Sonequa, Anthony, Mary, Doug Jones, so it's in a rough order of importance. It's not like, 1, 2, 3. I was number 44. Pretty good. Not bad, right? Grudge was number 20. And I was like, I'm dying if that cat is 24. And I was so pissed the whole time. Every time I would go to set and get that call sheet, I just would have motherfucking cat 24 points ahead of me. It really kept me humble on set. It really kept me humble.
What a performance, though, right? Like, what a good performing animal.
Oh my god!
I thought you were about to compliment Noah, but now you're talking about the cat.
No, I'm just cheesing.
And of course, the cat behaved so well for Mary. Did this cute little thing, and David and the cat just get along so well. Meanwhile, my costume has these rips in it. It's not doing what I'm supposed to. Jonathan Frakes is screaming at it, trying to get it to land. They just, in the end, have to pick it up and throw it at me. Just truly the biggest diva I've ever worked with in my career, bar none.
Jonathan Frakes?
Oh, he directed.
He couldn't believe
it. Yeah. Well, no, I know he directed. You gotta.
He was like, come up to me, like, Noah, like, can you get this cat to do anything? And I was like, I'm sitting there, like, covered in like these scratches, like my arms are shaking from trying to pin this cat to my chest. I'm like, Jonathan, I'm so sorry. And at one point I was like, Jonathan, can I just like, because in the scene I was supposed to like hold the cat and the cat's supposed to like comfort me or whatever, but it's not happening. I'm like, Jonathan, can I just like throw this cat so I can like deal with Detmer and stuff? He's like, it would be my greatest pleasure to let you throw this cat.
Is there someone
no
else
animals were harmed in the making of this movie?
That's
so you played Get Help with Grudge.
I didn't say that. It does not. It does not say that at the end of the episode.
What was it like to be in that episode and have Jonathan Frakes, someone who's of course very well known in Star Trek? He's behind the camera. This is Will Riker giving me orders, having me. What was that like?
Well, he directed 2 of my episodes, which was amazing. I consider, for the very, very short stint I have had on that show, had in Star Trek, to be so lucky. And part of that is that not 1 but 2 of these episodes got to be with Jonathan. And I had been around him before, with Mary, and was so... There's a picture of me where at like a barbecue at Jason Isaac's house, and he's there, and I was too nervous to introduce myself. I was too nervous to just even say hi. And there's literally a picture of me. I'm sitting at the end of a picnic table, and Jonathan Frakes is standing behind me talking to somebody. And Mary saw that like this was the moment for me to get a picture, so she was like, Noah, look at me. And so it's just like me sitting there like a little kid looking at the camera, where Jonathan Frakes is just like randomly standing behind me. And that was like as close as I could get to getting a picture with him. So the whole time that we were on there, I was very, very glad. This was like one of the few times where I was like very glad to be wearing that mask the entire time, because it really could hide how nervous and how like excited and like how much I was blushing, and like how I was like, I was too like distracted to say too many stupid things. So it was awesome. And everybody on the set knows who he is, not in like an egotistical way, but they know what he's bringing to the show. They know that he's like an authority on all this stuff. And then on top of that, he's just an amazing director. Like if you get him to direct something, it's gonna be stellar. He knows his stuff so well. He moves super fast. He knows how to keep the crew motivated and excited. He's just an incredible leader and just an awesome, really, really nice guy. And he's a great actors directors too. He really just knows how to get a great performance.
And that's why they call him 2 Takes Frakes.
Were there a lot that were just 2 takes? I mean, did he live up to the nickname?
No, he let us work. He was more than happy to let us go. I think especially on this show, they really want to get it right. So there's not always a huge, and setups take so long on this show. I don't know what it was like in sort of the, second gen Trek era, how long those set, but they take so long that you really want to make sure you get them right. So he's not rushing you, but he will say, if you got it, then he's happy. He doesn't need to draw something out of you, and he doesn't need to rush. Part of it is just really good time management. A lot of the time when you're slamming out take after take, or is because you lingered too long on something that you didn't need to, or you did a setup but you didn't quite have it clear in your mind, so they had to redo it once the actors came in, and he just isn't really making those kind of mistakes.
You talked about being in the makeup all day for that. That's what I want to ask about, because you hear the stories, the war stories of these actors that take the 4 or 6 hour makeup jobs. You've got to come in early before the sun is even up, et cetera, et cetera. So the question that I've got is, what do you do when you're sitting in that chair? I would hope at least you're reclining some. So, before I continue the question, how long on average does it take?
Well, look, here's what I'll say. What do you do? That is actually a good question. A lot of people ask, what do you do when you're there? And the answer is you just sit. You just sit there. There's nothing you can do. You can't watch a show because they're painting your eye. You're basically painting your eyeballs. You can't listen to music because they're putting a full mask around you that goes over your ears, and there was no ear holes on my mask. You can see that they're like on your picture, Big J, that you can't really see any kind of ears protruding out of the side there under the hair, because there were none, so you couldn't hear anything. You can't really talk to anybody because they're painting the inside of your mouth and gluing everything down around and gluing a lip onto your mouth. So the truth is you just sit there. And the only time that they recline you is they'll put you back to lay the mask down flat, but then they need to recline you back up so they can paint accurately as you're standing, not as you're laying. And if you're laying, when they sort of airbrush the paint, it'll fall like incorrectly. So you're just really sitting there and listening to whatever random Spotify station is there, and they play the same, or my prosthetics person Mike, who's been in the industry forever, he's been doing this forever, amazing prosthetics guy, but he would play the same playlist, so I would know where we were at in the process based on the song that I would hear. I'd be like, all right, well, we're at this crappy song and we're at this one. When I started in the first episode, I had this like white beard that they had there. Yeah. And so that beard, the way they put that on, they had these long kind of like 3 or maybe 5-inch strands of hair, of this white kind of hair, and they would glue each hair on individually and then cut them up to shape on the face. And that added about 2 hours to prep time. So my prep time on that first episode, both because when they put on the mask, it's just like a light blue Halloween mask. It looks like trash, like it looks like nothing. So it's really the painting that gives it life and texture and any sense of realism. So especially the first few times, it takes a while to get in the groove and understand, I need to do this first and then that, or this is what's going to make it look good, or if I do this here, I won't have to go back and retouch that. So it took about 5.5 hours for that first episode, and then by the second episode it was down to about 3.5, but I don't think we ever got it below 3.5 in total. That I was sort of in prosthetics, because you'll be in prosthetics, you'll go over to hair, they'll tape the hair onto the head, and then you go back to prosthetics to finish. So yeah, between 3.5 to 5.5, which meant, depending on when we were, starting shooting, I would get there at 4 a.m, 3 a.m, and then sit in the chair for 5 hours, and then everybody else showing up and getting a dot of makeup. David's like just getting a little powder, and meanwhile I've been there for 8 hours already. So
you go back to your trailer, pass out, come back to do your blocking, pass out again.
That's the other thing is that wearing that, it's different than, I don't have the experience of having prosthetic pieces like Emily has, which is like a piece that's sort of blended into her face, or like a lot of sort of older Trek would have, which is like maybe a top piece that goes over their head, or like side pieces that are blended in, but that are really just like makeup pieces stuck on. Because this is a full encased mask, it's a really, really weird feeling. Your body really has no idea like what's... Whoopsie. Is that me? No.
It could be me for some reason. That's really weird.
Oh,
Sorry. It happens.
No, all good. When you're wearing that full mask, your body thinks that you're being devoured.
Act.
It thinks
Claustrophobia.
It thinks like something is compressing your head and eating you slowly, so it's constantly trying to put you to sleep, so that you can die in your sleep.
Die in peace. Gotcha.
Yeah. So I would, not only because I was tired getting up early, but I don't really like nap that much. I'm not a big like napper, but without fail, and Doug is the same way when he does his stuff. I would just lay down and like a vampire, I'd cross my arms, because you couldn't lay on your side because it would hurt the mask. I just put my head back and I would just fall asleep like that every single time.
So did you ever get a chance to talk to like Jeffrey Combs about his experience when playing Shran, like as another Andorian to Andorian kind of talk or anything?
Well, I was at Star Trek Las Vegas, and like I was like, okay, I just have one goal, and that's to just like get a picture with Jeffrey Combs. It doesn't really matter if he knows who I am. Like I just like, I'll freaking buy a picture, whatever I have to do to get a picture. And there's like a very small green room back there, and we were sitting in the green room. I was wearing my mask, and he like came right up to me. He's like, "Hey, are you the new Andorian? You this guy?" And I was like, "Holy fuck, he knows who I am. It's so cool." I was like, "Yes, And I was like, I watched all Shran. I tried to like base as much as I could off of what you did. And he's like, "Oh yeah, And he was telling me, I sort of thought, well, what he said was, he was like, "You're a little tall for an Andorian," because he's sort of a shorter guy, and like it's that they sort of are like this. He was sort of describing, I always thought of them as the Irish compared to the Vulcan being like the English, sort of like they sort of have this scrappy, chip on their shoulder sort of vibe in comparison, especially when he's approaching that first episode, Andorian Incident, which is like so, just juxtaposing the two of them.
They're all 5'6", and they're all always angry.
Exactly. Well,
the
what I
females seem
do?
taller though.
What I do is I justify that with my beta canon of myself, which is saying that he's a Chan and I'm a Than. And so go
different
Google
sexes, different heights. Yeah, that makes all sense for me.
So that's my little retcon alert.
No, that works for me.
And then I was asking him about, because I didn't get to have antenna, so I was asking him and I knew that he had this amazing antenna experience. So I was asking him what it was like working with those mechanical antenna, and he was telling me about how him and the guy controlling like the motor controls of his antenna would sort of coordinate to make the antenna and the performance match up, which I just thought was so cool, and obviously reads so well in the performance. It's just like such a big part of that performance. So I don't know, I just was like totally geeking out and excited, and it was just really cool. It was really cool.
It's great to hear that he was so connected to the to the property that he's still following. Like, oh, he's the new Andorian. Oh, let's go talk, kind of thing.
I think honestly, it's just because I have like harassed him on Twitter for like like truly once a day. I'll say something to him, and be like, "Please notice me. Please love me." It's like,
worked.
Enough. Yeah, I did. I harassed him into it like any good fan.
Well, and that's how we're here today.
Right. You're like, let me just get on your show so you leave me the fuck alone.
No, so here's a fun one for you. So Thelin, the character that we talked about yesteryear, right? So in beta canon, there's actually an exploration of his storyline as well.
Hell yeah. Which book is this in?
So it's called The Chimes at Midnight. It's one of the Myriad universes. It's a short story, right?
Hell yeah.
So here's what it does. It takes, as though Thelin had always been the first officer, and just continues the story on. Like, what was Wrath of Khan like if there's no Spock? What is the Undiscovered Country like if there's no Spock? All these stories get looked at through its lens, right? And it tells you this, like, kind of
Marvel's What If.
Exactly. Well, that's what the Myriad universes are. They're essentially the what ifs, except like Star Trek, right? So you get this whole, like, most of TOS goes mostly the same, right? Sarek is saved by a different blood transfusion. All that stuff happens. But V'ger goes differently. Earth gets devastated, but not completely annihilated, without
Okay.
without Spock there to like mind meld with V'ger, right?
Basically, it's just like you are totally competent, but you're not actually special, and so
He's better in some ways, though. He's better than
Okay.
Spock was with regards to terraforming technology. So when they came down to the Genesis explosion, they behaved differently. He knew about it, so they were able to cancel it out, right?
Amazing.
Right. So nobody dies there. Then we get the whale probe, and without somebody to read minds again, to read fucking things, problems traveling time, and then Earth gets devastated again, right?
If he was an Anar, he should be able to do some mind reading.
Yeah, that's lightly addressed.
boy.
I know. But yeah, no, they
All
have,
of these
like, this
stories
whole
mean
story for it.
absolutely nothing. Thank you, Noah.
That's what I'm here to do. I'm here to shatter your illusions.
My heart is broken, Noah. But no, so it's just a good story. I would definitely recommend it. It definitely
That's awesome.
goes through like how they interact with Chang and the undiscovered country, right? Because it's not like he's not a diplomat. Spock's a
love it.
diplomat, comes from
Right.
that.
Well,
that one's
even
not.
in this episode, they really, it's an interesting painting of sort of going back to like DC Fontana's original conception of them as like this sort of warrior race. They almost feel like they're trying to come off as like almost tribal in their, like kind of like they're just like all about this sort of war and like warrior spirit, which I feel like is a mantle that gets taken up by Klingons, really. And so then you sort of, it's interesting. That's why I sort of focus one of the reasons I focus so heavily on Jeffrey's performance is because like that sort of warrior ethos doesn't totally hold up because it sort of is taken on by the Klingons instead. So, later on, it's interesting to see what they kind of build into next.
Yeah, Andorians are definitely pugnacious, right? But they don't really seem like they're conquerors. Like they'll get into the scrap if they have to. They'll kick your ass, but they're not there to take over your planet.
Exactly.
I always kind of picture the Klingons as more like your Viking warriors, and the Andorians like I don't know, maybe your Scottish warriors,
The Highland groups and such.
the Highland groups. Yeah,
I always got the Andorian vibe, like they're gonna come on a motorcycle, they're gonna kick the door in of your bar, hit you in the face with a crowbar. Your girlfriend's gonna hop on the back of the bike with you, and they're all gonna drive off. That's the warrior vibe.
yeah, you're right.
Rest
and
in
how did
peace,
Mary
Mary's
receive
ex-boyfriend.
How did Mary receive that story?
Yeah, she's on the back of Jeffrey's bike instead of me.
Oh,
basically.
wait, no, that's not how Jeffrey walks in. Hey, pink skin.
Yeah, exactly.
Brunt, FCA, bitch.
He asked me if I still said that, and I was like, no, Jeffrey, that's your thing. That's something I'm actually going to leave to you, my friend.
That's pretty cool. That is pretty cool. Well, sir, I made this little plaque of the tweets that you had mentioned. I'm gonna read them.
Oh, that's amazing.
I'm gonna read them. I say I made a little plaque. My crappy printer did horrible job, and the paper is glued to styrofoam, but it's a plaque. On December 2nd of 2020, you said the animated series is a total blind spot for me. On August 8th, you said it's time to come clean. I've never seen an episode of TAS. I will submit my formal resignation from Starfleet and jettison myself into the nearest sun in the morning. Little squiggly angry face.
I still feel like doing that. Just in general, I feel like I should jettison myself into a sun every time I get up.
Well, hold that thought. There's one more tweet, and there's a box sitting in front of you.
The third one is like, thank you, President Trump. It's like, no, don't read that one. Don't read that one.
No. That's the fourth one. Triangulum Audio Studios said, wait, what's this about? Is someone harassing Knack? Do I need to get my ass-kicking boots, that are canon, by the way, out of my shoe closet? To which you responded, ha 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 ha, you all rule. No, I think it's just in reference to me admitting I've never seen an episode of TAS and threatening to exile myself from the Q Continuum.
Yeah, I'm just basically outing myself for no reason.
So that
But
was
you're also showing your nerd cred while outing yourself into it too.
right.
Yeah.
Don't tell people that. That's my Kardashian side coming through.
As a man who's grown into the concept of being able to admit weaknesses, and like you're so strong into the fandom, like I just became a completionist last year. I ain't gonna lie. But that was the tweet. That last one there was when I contacted you, August 10th. and I have been working with my bros here to find a way to reinforce that you are the coolest person. Don't get me wrong. You follow us on Twitter, so you have to be that cool.
That's the law.
But
Twitter law.
I wanted to give you something, so I sent you the box in front of you. So you can go ahead and open that.
Box. All right.
What's in the box?
Wrong franchise.
Brad
Wrong
Pitt's wife's
you're
head.
right.
Wait.
All right, here we go. I've got a card. It says official nerd card.
Oh, that is
Hell
nice.
yeah.
So I want you to think of this as we're not
Oh
giving you
my.
back your nerd card. We're just letting you know that you've always had it and you'll always be right there.
I mean, I like to. You've really picked the two nerdiest pictures of me here. It's wonderful. You know, you could have got my glam headshot, but no, you got a picture of me from 2012 in the middle of lunch. It's amazing. This is awesome.
You know.
Well, thank you guys, and we've got a little keychain here too, as well.
Yeah,
Oh,
so that
wow.
I custom painted that to look like a pad.
Oh, hell yeah.
And it's a
Yeah.
little Delta
You painted
sticker on
that?
the back. I did.
This
And
is awesome, dude.
and you can put a little photo in there or something like that.
I love this. Well, thank you guys. It feels good.
Hey,
It feels
you are-
good to have my nerd card.
Don't let the gatekeepers keep you out of any fandom
Right?
you want to be a part of, right?
Right.
Don't let them
Right,
keep
don't
you
let
out.
them leave you out.
Now I can start gatekeeping people and keeping them out of this fandom. What I always wanted to do.
But now he's gonna be like, Beyond Trek said I'm a nerd, so fuck you, and we're gonna be like,
Yeah.
whoa, he's right.
Yeah, I'm gonna start screaming at people on Twitter now.
Hey, Dag, got a quick question for you. Is there any way around this part you could like do an edit out so I can say hi to my son Nacho? He just stopped by unexpectedly.
Well, I think we're gonna wrap up because I think we've talked about the episodes. Noah, we'd love to have you back to do another TAS thing sometime.
Anytime, guys.
Cool.
Well, I really appreciate this. This is a truly wonderful gift. Feels good. I feel complete. There's like a piece of my soul was
Thank
missing,
you.
but it feels back. I feel strong. I feel good. And
It's great.
This is awesome, you guys. And thank you for having me on. And thank you for finally giving me an excuse to clear up the empty spot in my heart, which was yesteryear in 50-foot Spock.
All right. Well, to the audience, thank you for going boldly with Beyond Trek podcast.
And this is Tuvix, by the way. He's just
Thank
my
you,
mic.
thank you.
Hey everybody, I just wanted to give a quick shout out to our Patreon and Anchor supporters. Big thanks to Stephanie Baker, S. Tam, Anne Marie, Jim Cook, and Nora Hickson. We really appreciate your support. Thanks for being a part of Beyond Trek Podcast.
We are Beyond Trek Podcast. Lower your inhibitions and surrender your years. We will add inspirational and hilarious Trek content to your day. Your attention will adapt to subscribe to us. Resistance is futile.